What's up, everybody? I'm back. I'm doing a tier list for the Star Wars movies and television shows. I'm surprised I haven't done this yet, to be honest with you. I did the tier list for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I do need to update, by the way. And now I'm going to do a tier list for Star Wars. I'm just going to do these in order, and I already put the haven't seen in the haven't seen list. I know what you're thinking. What, you haven't seen Clone Wars? I know I have not seen Clone Wars or Rebels. I know that's kind of sacrilegious as a Star Wars fan. I'm working on it. I'm about almost done with season 1 of Clone Wars and almost done with season 1 of Rebels. I'm kind of doing them both at the same time. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. If that's a bad idea, leave it in the comments below. Yeah, I'm gonna do the Star Wars tier list, and keep in mind that these are just my opinions. Do not come at me in the comments if your opinion differs. If you want to have a civil discussion, that's fine, but don't be that Star Wars fan that wants to be a crybaby about, you know, The Last Jedi being in a certain place. You know what I'm saying? So please don't be that guy, but let's get into it, starting with the original Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, originally just called Star Wars. Come on. This is like arguably the biggest movie of all time. Where do you think this is going? This is going in S tier. Of course it is. How can Star Wars, the original, go in anything else than S tier? It has to be S tier. It's revolutionary for its time. It's groundbreaking. It broke all sorts of records when it came out, and it still holds up today. That's the thing that's crazy about it. One thing I should mention, I'm not doing any special editions on this list. I do not like the special editions. I honestly don't believe in the special editions as like that they should be like a thing. I have this philosophy about art, and when it's released, that should be it. I don't think you should repaint the Mona Lisa's smile after 50 years. I think that art should be art, and when it's released, and that art should stand on its own. I don't think you should go back and change it. Like I said, I don't think Leonardo da Vinci should repaint the Mona Lisa's smile, because the Mona Lisa is perfect, and I feel like Star Wars is also perfect, so Star Wars should be not touched. So all these new additional CGI additions that stick out like a sore thumb, I do not like them. I do not like them. So I'm not counting any of the special editions in my tier list. Only the original despecialized editions I am counting. Empire Strikes Back, directed by Irvin Kershner. This is arguably better than the first movie. This is arguably a sequel that supersedes its original. It's more complex. Has more character depth. It has more depth and substance. I feel like the Empire Strikes Back is one of those films that really also stands the test of time, but I feel like is kind of the cornerstone of many series on what they feel like a trilogy should be. A lot of people like to follow the archetype of the Empire Strikes Back as like a template to do in the middle movie of a trilogy, and a lot of times other trilogies can't do it well. They don't do it well. They try to be the Empire Strikes Back, but they don't end up doing it well. Whereas the Empire Strikes Back, it is the Empire Strikes Back of Star Wars. So, which is a phrase that people use. So that's also going in S tier. It's gotta go in S tier. Return of the Jedi used to be my favorite Star Wars film of all time. I think it's a great conclusion of the original trilogy. Honestly, if the Star Wars films stopped there, that's probably where it should have stopped in a lot of people's opinions. If the Star Wars films stopped there, I would be happy, and I'm sure a lot of people would also be happy. It's a great conclusion to the trilogy, to the original trilogy, directed by Richard Marquand. But there are a few things in it that kind of diminish it for me now. I think there's certain goofy moments in the Ewoks and stuff like that. Like, I love the Ewoks, but I feel like they were a little goofy, and that there are certain aspects of that film that are a little goofy. But it still is a great Star Wars film. But I don't think I would put it up there with the first two anymore. This used to be an S tier, but lately I would say that this is more of an A tier for me. Again, don't judge. I know that's splitting hairs being between an S tier and an A tier, but that's how I feel. And like I said, my opinion on this could change tomorrow. I could literally wake up in the middle of the night and be like, man, I should have put Return of the Jedi in S tier. Alright, now we're going to go into the prequel territories. I'm just going to be fully transparent with you guys. I am not a prequel lover. I do not like the prequels. I tried rewatching The Phantom Menace not too long ago. Actually, I tried rewatching all the prequels when The Rise of Skywalker came out, and I couldn't even get through the first prequel movie. It's, in my opinion, really bad. I know that's kind of controversial. I mean, it's not really that controversial. A lot of people do not like the prequels. I think the reason a lot of people like the prequels is because they grew up with them and they have this sense of nostalgia for them. But when you step back and look at the films objectively, they're very dated because of all the bad CGI. And I know the CGI was great for its time, but the CGI has been dated so horribly. They're very dated. They're poorly written, in my opinion. They're poorly paced, and they're not shot very well, in my opinion. So I'm just not a big fan of the prequels. I think when kids grew up, they liked the fart jokes, they loved the poop jokes, they laughed at Jar Jar Binks acting like an idiot, and they grew up thinking that, you know, the prequels were a good movie series. And if you think that, that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't feel like that's true. You know, another reason I feel like people really like the prequels is not even because of the prequel movies themselves. It's because of the better supplementary material, like the Clone Wars television show, that boosted the prequels and boosted the lore of the prequels. So now that random Jedi that just gets killed in one hit in episode 3, he has a huge backstory now because of the Clone Wars television show. So these series have kind of elevated the prequel trilogy. They were companion pieces to it. So they've kind of elevated the material a little bit. But watching and judging the films alone by themselves, I am not a fan. Episode 1, I have to put in F. Not a fan of that one. I'm sorry. I really like Darth Maul in it. I really like the lightsaber fight, but the lightsaber fight is only 5 minutes in a 2.5-hour movie that's intercut with all these different plot lines happening at the same time. It's just not great. Episode 2, I feel like, is on the same wavelength as Episode 1 for me. Episode 2 has some of the cheesiest dialogue and some of the worst visual effects. It has poor pacing, and I don't understand some of the creative choices. Like, I don't understand why all the clone troopers had to be CGI. Why couldn't the clone troopers be practical? And I understand that you have to push this technology in order to advance it, and I get that, and the Star Wars prequels did that. I'll give them that. They advanced the technology because someone's got to be the first to do it somewhere. And this is actually the first feature film, I believe, to be shot digitally. So it did break a lot of new ground. But for me, the dialogue, the story, Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, which I think is a bad miscast. I know that's another controversial thing to say, but I think Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker was very miscast. And Hayden Christensen's a good actor. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but I'm saying, like, he wasn't directed very well by George Lucas when it came to his characters. And I feel like everyone in the prequels sort of has like this low monotone kind of tone to their voice, and they don't really act because they weren't directed very well, and they're also acting against nothing most of the time because it's all green screen. So yeah, Attack of the Clones, it's cool to see Yoda with a lightsaber though, I'll give it that, but Attack of the Clones I'm gonna have to give an F as well. Maybe that's too harsh. You know what, I'm gonna put these at D, because yeah, maybe that is a little too harsh to put them at F. I'm just not a fan of these movies. They do have they're good elements to them, so I shouldn't put them at F, because there's another thing in here that is going to be F, and I don't feel like the Star Wars prequels match how bad that is. So I'm gonna move them to a D. But let's go with Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is the best prequel, and this is the only prequel that I think is actually a good movie. Again, some of the dialogue is bad, some of the CG is all over the place, and it looks like it's too much. It looks very video gamey, and I know that's horrible to say, and I know it's kind of a cliche to say, oh, the CGI looks like a video game, but when you look back at the prequels, the CGI really does look like a video game. And I understand, like I said, you need to advance the technology. And you look at The Wizard of Oz, and that's going to be dated too, but that doesn't mean The Wizard of Oz is bad just because it's dated. I'm not saying the prequels are bad because they're dated. I'm just saying, For me, there are a bunch of other things that kind of lower the prequels to the standards for me. But overall, Anakin's transition to Darth Vader in this film I thought was handled very well. There's a lot more lore in this film, which I think was very cool. It's much more serious than the first two prequel films. It's a lot darker. I think this was the first PG-13 Star Wars film, actually. Now that I think about it, I believe it was. And it had an amazing lightsaber fight at the end. Amazing lightsaber fight at the end. Probably one of my favorites, one of the best. I know a lot of people say it's too over choreographed and it's too crazy, but I like that. I feel like with these Jedis in their prime, I feel like Jedis in their prime would act like that until they get older, and then maybe it's more episode 4-like battles where they're just kind of throwing sticks around. This movie, I do feel like is good, and I'm not saying it is bad, because I don't think it is. But there are some moments in this film where I'm like, really? Like, some of that dialogue is like, man, I don't know. That being said, I'm going to put Revenge of the Sith at a B. Alright, we're going to get into the controversial sequel trilogy. Now, this is where I want you all to calm down, okay? I want you all to calm yourself down. The hype for The Force Awakens when it came out was so real. And I remember how excited everyone was for that movie and how pleased everyone was with it. It's kind of weird looking back at the sequel trilogy now after it's over compared to when it was starting. Like, people were going nuts over this film back in 2015. Like, people were going absolutely crazy for it. And I like The Force Awakens. I do. I think it sets up a lot of stuff that didn't get that didn't have good payoff. But from what it sets up, I feel like is really good. And for what it like sets up these new characters and reestablishes the old characters in the same universe. It was really cool going back to the Star Wars universe and seeing a new era of it. It was really cool, and I really liked the movie. I know it's a New Hope clone. The story is very New Hope, but Lawrence Kasdan wrote the script, and he also helped write some of the original trilogy, and I really liked The Force Awakens. Every time I think about The Force Awakens, I just think of the hype that I had for the film and how everyone was finally loving Star Wars again at, when The Force Awakens was released. So I'm going to put The Force Awakens at an A. Alright, The Last Jedi. This is the most controversial film of all time. And that's not even hyperbole. I'm being dead serious. This is the most controversial film of all time. It's the most divisive film of all time. All the hype that was built up of people loving Star Wars again almost immediately went out the window when Star Wars The Last Jedi was released. This film is the most divisive Star Wars film. People love it or people hate it with a passion. And there's really no in-between. So I'm going to be that guy who is that in-between. When the movie first came out, I loved Star Wars The Last Jedi. I loved it. I thought it was a masterpiece when it first came out. I'm like, I don't know what anyone's talking about. However, after hearing some people complain and kind of understanding where they're coming from, like the characterization of Luke Skywalker, for example, I can understand why some people don't like the movie now. I understand that they viewed Luke Skywalker as this Superman-like character, this messianic-like character who is like the king of the Jedi, and that he shouldn't have problems, or he shouldn't have this much moral conflict in him because he is like a messianic figure in a way. I never viewed Luke as a messianic figure like that. I never viewed Luke as like a Superman type character. I actually viewed him as a flawed character, and Mark Hamill actually wanted Luke Skywalker to turn evil in the original trilogy. So I don't think Luke Skywalker is like the number one Jedi. I know he's the chosen one. I know that. But I don't feel like he can't have moments of doubt. He can't have conflict within his mind. He can't struggle with the dark side. I think that there should be moments where Luke Skywalker has moments of doubt, has moments of tribulation, has, seen the dark side, because his father was Darth Vader. So obviously he sees the dark side and he feels the dark side still. And I feel like I'm not doing a good job of explaining this, but I feel like as a character, people just wanted Luke to be perfect, and I don't think Luke is perfect. They wanted him to be like a Yoda, but I don't think Luke was that. I thought Luke was handled pretty well, decently, in my personal opinion, in The Last Jedi. When The Mandalorian came out, that's when I realized why people didn't like The Last Jedi, is because The Mandalorian Season 2, spoilers, when Luke Skywalker comes out and like wrecks shop, I started to realize, oh, okay, this is what fans wanted when it came to The Last Jedi, but they didn't get it. And so I can kind of get where they're coming from. It's how I view Man of Steel with Superman, and I get that. But for me, I do not think The Last Jedi is a bad movie. I just don't think that. I think it has some of the best cinematography and some great moments. There are some stupid moments in the film, like Rose and Finn's relationship, Canto Bight, that sequence. Benicio del Toro was kind of a dumb character. There are some stupid moments in the movie. I'm not denying that. But I cannot say that it's a bad movie. And I'm going to put Star Wars The Last Jedi at a B. And that's either where you checked out of this video, or you either checked out of this video now, or you clicked off, or you disliked it, or you did something just now. Or you posted a comment telling me I'm trash and I'm wrong. That's how passionate people are, and honestly kind of crazy people are about The Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker, I think, is not good. I'm just going to be real with you. I think they really fumbled the ball. I think after The Last Jedi, they just wanted to play damage control, which is why they hired J.J. Abrams back and threw away Colin Trevorrow's script. I think Colin Trevorrow's leaked script would have been a much better conclusion to the sequel trilogy, because it actually moved the story forward rather than trying to bring it back and play damage control after the reception of The Last Jedi. That's what this movie is. It's just nothing but damage control. And to bring the Emperor back after all these movies and be like, oh, the Emperor is the villain of the whole shebang all of a sudden out of nowhere, just tells me that they didn't know what direction they were going in. And I really don't like Rey being a Palpatine. I don't understand why Rey just can't be a normal new character. Why can't Rey just be a new Jedi? I don't understand why she had to be attached to somebody. And a lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, but Episode 7 set it up that she was somebody. It's like, yeah, it set her up that she was a Jedi. It never set up that she was like Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter or anything like that. That was all fan theories after the fact. And these fan theories kind of ruined a lot of people's perception of the sequel trilogy, because they grew to love their fan theories so much that when they deviated from that, they wouldn't accept it. But for me, that's different, because I don't do that, you know? I just take what I get. And what I got was Rey being a Palpatine, which I thought was so dumb, and they didn't even explain it. I'm gonna have to put the conclusion of the Star Wars saga, the Skywalker saga, as unfortunate as it is, I'm gonna have to put that at a D, because I just really did not like that film. Rogue One, I think, is the best Disney Star Wars film. Rogue One is the most different Star Wars film. It puts the wars in Star Wars. It's the Saving Private Ryan of Star Wars. It is dark, it is gritty, it is dirty, it is not polished, it is tactile, it is a war movie. It puts the war in Star Wars. It's basically the opening crawl of A New Hope as a movie, and that's what I like. I like the direction about it. I love the cinematography. I love how Gareth Edwards plays with scale. You really sense the scale of everything when he's a director. That's why he was good with Godzilla and Rogue One. I really like Rogue One. I just watched it not too long ago, actually. I think it is the most different and most risk-taking Star Wars film that Disney has put out. I guess The Last Jedi took risks too, but Rogue One had a lot more risks that paid off, because I felt like they weren't pigeonholed by certain expectations and stuff like that. So as the first spin-off movie, I thought Rogue One was very well done. I'm gonna put Rogue One at an A, honestly. Solo, A Star Wars Story. Okay, this is gonna be a controversial opinion. I like Solo, A Star Wars Story. I do. I think when people first saw it, people wanted to go into that film wanting to hate it so bad that people came out saying, oh, it was the worst Star Wars film ever made. I don't think that's true. I thought it was pretty good. I rewatched this film about 2 times since I saw it in theaters, and every time I'm like, you know what, this really isn't that bad. I mean, yeah, the cinematography is really dark in some spots, and there are some moments of like, okay, that's a little dumb, like how Han Solo got his name, but like, overall, like, it's not a bad movie. It's an unnecessary movie for sure, because Han Solo's story was done after this point. After The Force Awakens, his story was done. You didn't need to go back to Han Solo again and make a movie about him. But separating yourself from all the drama, the behind-the-scenes drama that came out about this film during its inception, during its production, separating yourself from all the stupid drama and the firing of the directors and Kathleen Kennedy and all these YouTubers who wanted to go out and just trash on Star Wars and trash on Lucasfilm and trash on Disney and trash on Kathleen Kennedy just because they needed to do some clickbait video. Separating yourself from all of that hoopla. Yes, I said hoopla. The film is actually not that bad. It's really a harmless movie. So I'm gonna put Han Solo at a B. It's really not that bad, guys. It really isn't that bad. Alright, so now we're gonna get into some supplementary materials here. The Mandalorian, S tier. Hands down. Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 is absolutely amazing. I love The Mandalorian. I love The Mandalorian show. I love that it's basically the Boba Fett show that we didn't get, and then the Boba Fett show we did get was something different, which I'll get to that later. But The Mandalorian, it became iconic from episode 1. It is so good. I love The Mandalorian. I don't know what I can really say about it. Pedro Pascal is amazing as The Mandalorian, and of course you got Baby Grogu. How can you say no to that? It's just a great story. And it shows Mandalorian lore, and it expands on Star Wars lore in a unique and different way. And that's what I really like about it. Star Wars The Clone Wars movie is going in F. Star Wars The Clone Wars movie is a terrible movie. It's awful. Now here's the thing. As an episode of the show, it's fine. As a movie, it's terrible. Because people gotta remember, this was released in theaters. This was the first thing to be released for the Clone Wars. This was the first 3 episodes. This was the first 3 episodes combined into a movie and released in theaters. You had to pay $10 at the box office to go in and watch this Clone Wars movie, which was terrible. Now, as an episode of the show, like I said, it's fine, but you know how I said it was the first 3 episodes? Chronologically speaking, if you watch the show in chronological order, it's actually episode like 4, 5, and 6. So it's not even chronological. So you're basically watching episode 4, 5, and 6 of a show without having any context to it. So that is not good, and that is bad. The Star Wars Holiday Special. S tier, all the way, boys. Let's go. No, of course, you know that this is going in F. The Star Wars Holiday Special it's just a giant meme. That's all I can say about it. I mean, there's really nothing more to say about the Star Wars Christmas Special or Holiday Special, rather than it's just a giant meme, and it's hard to watch. It is physically hard to sit there and watch it. Even watching other people do reactions to it is hard. Alright, and we're going to do one that's not here, the Book of Boba Fett. I'm going to put the Book of Boba Fett at a C, because there are some moments of the Book of Boba Fett that I really did enjoy. Most of them had to do with The Mandalorian, but I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit, and I feel like they changed his character from what he was, they changed Boba Fett's character from what he was in The Mandalorian Season 2, to where he takes out like 10 stormtroopers in The Mandalorian Season 2, yet all of a sudden in the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, he gets like knocked out by like 4 shield-wielding goons, and I just don't feel like that's what would happen. I feel like Boba Fett never really truly shined as a badass in his own show, and I feel like his show was sort of taken away from him. But there are some moments I like. I like some of the visuals. I liked some of the storylines. I liked the Tusken Raider storyline, the flashbacks. I liked seeing Black Chrysanthemum and Cad Bane in live action. That was really cool. But But Book of Boba Fett, I'm gonna have to put that at a C. Alright guys, so this is my list, my tier list for Star Wars. Again, I could change this literally tomorrow or in a couple hours as I'm editing. I might even change my mind on some of this and where I would put some of this stuff. But yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. Nice talking to you. Nice seeing you. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.